On today's episode of Locked On Mariners, we're projecting the Mariners opening day roster. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. This is Trident Gonzales and Colby Patno for the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description below. On the show today, we're projecting the Mariners opening day roster going 1 through 26. Obviously, it's very early on in spring training still, and a lot can happen between now and March 30th, which is opening day, of course. But we're going to take our first swing at this. We might do another one later on in March, but this is where we're at right now. We're also making these projections based on what we think is going to happen, not what we think should happen. So let's kick things off here with the starting pitching, which is going to be pretty much chalk across the board. You're going to hear us say that a lot with this roster. There aren't a lot of position battles. We've talked about this in the build up to doing this projection, but we got Luis Castillo here. We got George Kirby here. We got Robbie Ray here. We got Logan Gilbert here. And then we, of course, have Marco Gonzales. Despite his rough outing against the Angels on Saturday, we talked about this, Colby, during yesterday's mailbag episode, that isn't deterring us from putting Gonzales in the number 5 spot in this rotation. Let me ask you this, though. Is there anything that Marco can do this spring that could lose him this job?
That is an excellent question, Trident Gonzales, whom I respect very much. He's sick man. The answer is no. Short of injury, Marco's going to be in this rotation. I mean, Jerry all but confirmed it to us, when we interviewed him last month. Marco's the guy. They value that he can eat innings and keep you in ball games and give you a lot of quality starts. So they value that, and they're going to keep him in the rotation. Flexen, there's really no shot whatsoever that Flexen takes the job, again, unless there's an injury. So really what it comes down to is it's Bryce Miller versus Marco, and the Mariners don't seem too inclined to rush Miller to the big leagues. They seem like they want to give him a legitimate, couple weeks at least in the minors, and you guys can claim it's service time. It's really easy to service time a pitcher, and the Mariners wouldn't do that if they really thought Bryce Miller had a shot to win the Rookie of the Year, because then they'd get another draft pick. So this to me is just about Marco is the vet. You give him the first crack. He's been here the longest. And the difference between him and Flexen is negligible. Flexen does play up a little bit better in the bullpen than Marco would. And then it's, hey, Marco, this is your shot. You're the vet. You're the clubhouse leader here. You're going to get a handful of starts to prove that you can stay in the rotation. And if you can't, then we're going to go with the young kid. So no, there's really nothing short of injury that could happen to Marco that would cause him to lose that job.
Thank you, Colby. I equally respect you, and I also agree with you on your take about Marco Gonzales. Yeah, so I said this
happy?
Yesterday. What was his name? What was the? Oh, it was just channel name, right?
Channel name. Yeah, there you go. Channel name.
There you go. All right. Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, we actually like each other. It may not come across as that on here, but we do like each other. We enjoy talking to one another. We've been doing this for 5 years, so we have to have some sort of mutual respect for one another to do this for about basically half a decade with one another. All right. I said this on yesterday's episode, though, about Marco, that look, you know what you're going to get with Marco. You know that you're going to get starts like the one that you saw on Saturday, and you know that you're going to get some quality starts mixed in there as well. There's nothing for me that Marco is going to do this spring that changes my mind on that, really. And plus, the thing with starting pitchers in spring training, with a lot of their starts, they're working on stuff. They're not necessarily going into a particular game with an actual game plan on how to attack the other team that they're going up against. They're just working on stuff. They're working through things. And so context is very important when it comes to spring training in general, but it is extra important with starting pitchers. So yeah, going off of that, Marco's going to be the number 5 barring injury. And that's just what it is, and maybe maybe Bryce Miller just has an incredible spring and just forces the Mariners' hand, but I really, really doubt that. So that's why Marco is here in our number 5 spot. Maybe that changes by the next time we do our projections, but that's what it is right now here at the start of spring. All right, let's get into the bullpen here, because this is one of the few points of maybe not contention, but there might be a question mark or two in here, but I still think that it's pretty much chalk. We got Chris Flexen here at the top. With Trevor Gott, who is, he got a major league deal this offseason, so I think they're going to, he's going to be a part of this bullpen, at least to start the year. We'll see. They might have a pretty short leash on him with guys like, Justin Topa behind him. Penn Murphy, Matt Festa, Diego Castillo, Matt Brash, Paul Sewald, and of course, Andres Munoz. So let's talk about Gott and Flexen and also, Murphy and Festa. I mean, I feel like those guys you could consider maybe are on the bubble, but it does seem like, for context purposes, that they are more or less locked in for now, for at least the first week or two of the regular season, and from that point forward, we'll see. But obviously Jerry Dipoto really likes Justin Topa. He tried to acquire him for a couple of years now, finally landed him this offseason. So maybe if he has a really good spring, he enters the conversation here, maybe pushes someone like Gott or Murphy or Festa. Of course, Festa's going to the World Baseball Classic, so we'll see if maybe him being away from the team will open up the door for someone. But I think this is just pretty much it, right, Colby?
Yeah, Flexen's definitely going to make the team if he's not traded. They're not just going to DFA him and tell him to go away. They want the pitching depth. So he'll be in the bullpen for sure. Festa, I feel really good about because he really showed last year that he is a major league quality arm, and he's out of options. So there's no sending him down and hoping to get him back. So if you want to make a move with Festa, you're exposing him to waivers, and there's a really good chance somebody will claim him. Murphy, on the other hand, he does have options left, and so that is a possibility that you can make that swap. And yeah, I do think that Gott is going to get the early opportunities here because the Mariners, this is a guy that they think they can turn into something. This is a guy that they think they can turn into a pitcher that he's only really been for one season. They think they can get him back to that. They see something. That's a guy they identified, and they don't give up on those guys that quickly. So he'll probably get some decent run, but aside from those guys, everybody else is pretty much locked in, again, barring injury or trade, which could happen. But yeah, I think this is what it's going to look like. It's not how it's going to look all year. There will be injuries. There'll be trades. There'll be, demotions and DFAs. We know the bullpen will look a lot different in July than it will on opening day. But I think for opening day, this is what it's going to look like barring injuries.
Yeah. And, Gott, obviously there isn't a lot of money attached to him. It's pretty easy to go away from him if you don't want him to be a part of your 26-man roster. And obviously, Topa's really interesting, and Orlando Baroa's had a nice start to spring, and you and I are very excited about Isaiah Campbell, but I think they're just going to roll with Gott unless, spring is just an absolute disaster for him and they just don't like what they're seeing really. And just, see what they got there. And if it doesn't work out after a week or two, then you move on, you go to the next guy, and that's really it. And, one thing we know about Jerry Dipoto and this team, they're pretty quick to pull the trigger on bullpen guys, and they've had a lot of success, kind of rebuilding bullpens kind of out of thin air in the middle of the season. So not really concerned about it, even if some of these guys don't pan out this year.
They have a really good knack for timing. Very rarely does Jerry and his crew stick with a guy too long before they either make a role change or before they just move on to a different arm. So you might get a couple bad outings in a row, and then that would be it. And $1.1 million is not going to prevent the Mariners from doing what they have to do with a guy like Trevor Gott if it just isn't working. But they're going to give it a shot first, and they should, because they've identified him as a guy that they think they can help, and that's worth seeing through.
All right, so we're going to be moving on to the position player portion of our opening day 26-man roster projections here in just a moment. But real quick reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? And you got to try Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. And if you're like me, where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got just the thing for you. You got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you, which which is perfect for your New Year's resolution. And what makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they are all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy for you. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get yourself a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And if you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab yourself a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen here as we project the Mariners opening day roster, their 26-man Major League roster. Let's start with the catchers here as we get into the position player portion of our projections. Nothing to really see here. Cal Raleigh, Tom Murphy, that's what it's going to be. Cooper Hummel has not had a good start, to put it lightly, to spring training, so I don't think he really factors into the conversation here. Yeah, so, I mean, Colby, the Mariners have one of the better catching situations in all of baseball right now, as long as both of these guys stay healthy, right?
Yeah, Murphy's certainly better than probably half of the guys who are going to get a majority of the reps for their team anyway. So, yeah, Seattle has 2 legitimate starting catchers. Again, both are kind of coming off of their own injury in the winter. So, how they, coexist is going to be really important. There's going to be opportunities early for both of them. We expect Cal to, take the job and run with it, and he should. It's his job. He's an all-star quality player. But Murphy's going to get legitimate run here. Murphy's probably going to catch, 60, 65 games if he can handle that. So far, so good. Behind the plate, he's moving well. He's throwing well. He's swinging the bat. So it looks like he's, back to, I don't want to say back to normal, but he is healthy enough to start the year with the Mariners, and Cal getting his first action today, which I know a lot of Mariner fans were concerned about, but it's a long season, let's not rush him when we don't have to. And Cal is also coming off of a couple of surgeries, I think, most notably the one in his thumb.
Right.
So yeah, as long as they're both healthy, they should, perform really well. And they're both good enough that you don't have to run the other guy into the ground.
Right.
If Cal needs 3 days off in a row, no problem. We're not going to have a black hole in the lineup. We'll just roll with Tom,
That's such a crucial part of this because Raleigh,
Yep.
I mean, obviously took the all of the workload there towards the end of the season, especially when Kurt Caselli didn't come off as a viable option. Really, they were hoping that they were going to get more out of him after they acquired him at the deadline. He wasn't really anything for them after showing up in Seattle. So yeah, having Murphy here is huge, not only just because like Murphy's a pretty good catcher, as you mentioned, but also because it takes some of the pressure and some of the workload off of Raleigh. And, there will be some days, I think, when maybe we'll see both of these guys in the lineup. But, that also depends on if they have another guy who can catch. And I think Cooper Hummel was supposed to be a part of that plan. I don't know if he's ever going to be a part of it though, with the way that he's playing right now. So
I mean, yeah, it's spring, but like obviously strikeouts have been a huge part of his problem. And they're continuing here in the spring, and I don't even know if Hummel's the first guy up. Like if somebody needs a 10-day IL stint in April, they might go to O'Keefe before they go to Hummel.
Yeah.
I mean, Hummel's on the 40-man, so he probably has an edge, but I wouldn't say it's a guarantee. But yeah, so keeping those 2 guys healthy is going to be a big deal, and they're going to get some DH days. Even both of them will get a DH day here and there. It won't be normal, or it won't be like an everyday type of thing, but
yeah,
there's really no reason to bench, either guy against left-handed pitching. I mean, obviously you want Murphy in the lineup more than you want Raleigh, but you could DH Raleigh or catch Raleigh and DH Murphy against lefties. You can do that. So yeah, it's a good situation. I really don't think anybody would argue that the Mariners catching situation is in a really good spot right now.
Yeah.
And by the way, because we can't watch today's game, I thought I'd let you know, Ty.
Okay.
Teo hits his first Cactus League home run, 3-run
Let's
shot.
go. Let's go.
Followed up, of course, by Ty France going deep
Ooh,
with a
nice.
solo shot. Apparently a line drive to straightaway center field.
Vive la France. All right. Speaking of Ty France.
Unfortunately, Cal Raleigh struck out in his second at bat, so bust. Like,
yeah. So it's
darn.
over for the fall off.
You always have the home run.
Sophomore slump, yep. Even though it's actually his third year technically. But yeah. All right. Speaking of Ty France, we move on here to the infielders. France leads us off here. He's going to be the starting first baseman, barring injury, of course. Colton Wong's going to be the starting second baseman. Might be a platoon situation there with Dylan Moore. You'll notice that Moore isn't listed here. He'll show up in the utility portion. Spoiler alert. Eugenio Suarez, of course, JP Crawford. And then we're putting Tommy LaStella here. LaStella is listed as a DH on the Mariners website, but I can't imagine that they're just going to have him be an exclusive DH. They're going to have Tommy LaStella be a part of this roster as an exclusive DH. He's going to have to play in the field some, right?
In theory, but he still belongs in the DH tab, where Dylan Moore belongs in the infield tab.
But Dylan Moore's going to play some outfield.
Smart. No,
he's going to play some outfield though.
No, it's fine, Ty. Like, you're so smart. It
thank
hurts
you.
sometimes.
Thank you for respecting me.
Yeah, I just want you to feel like you are heard and respected.
Thank you.
Yes.
By the way, real quick, guys, I forgot to mention this earlier on. We've started a TikTok and an Instagram. Check us out on there at Locked On Mariners. That's all it is on both platforms at Locked On Mariners. Very simple, just one word at Locked On Mariners. Follow us on there. We're going to be posting content there this season. Anyway, continue.
80 grade podcasting from you, Ty. Just dropping it in the middle of the show after you forgot. Just only somebody like you could do that. So
thank you.
I'm proud of you.
That means a lot coming from you. Yeah.
Yes, I'm proud of you. Yeah, this is the infield. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward. Dylan Moore is going to get the start against lefties, either for JP Crawford or Colton Wong. Probably Wong most of the time, but JP is not going to play every single day like he has the last few years. So Demo's going to get some run at shortstop too. So, and the fact that he can hit lefties and both Wong and JP are lefties, great. Works out really well. LaStella will probably get to play some second and third. We'll see how his elbow is. He was scratched from the opening day of the Cactus League lineup with elbow soreness, right elbow soreness, and he has not returned yet. Maybe sometime, towards the end of this week, he'll be back. But that's something to keep an eye on because that is a potential roster spot that opens up. And the injury is something that could lead to him not actually making the team. Remember, he signed a minimum deal, so he is not guaranteed a roster spot by any stretch. But if he's healthy, feel like he's probably going to win that spot and probably be the opening day DH. But yeah, he'll have to play in some first base if necessary.
Yeah, so the next time that we do these projections, it might very well be Colin Moran in this spot instead, or maybe this opens the door for someone like Cade Marlowe to make the team. We'll see. But right now, it's we're gonna put LaStella here. We're gonna err on the side of caution and just say that LaStella is gonna return by some point between now and opening day and end up making this club. But we'll see. All right, outfield. Can you believe it, Colby? We have Julio Rodriguez making this team. I know.
It's bold.
Shocker.
It's bold. Yeah.
Shocker. Teoscar Hernandez as well, who, of course, as you mentioned, went yard today for a 3-run bomb. Jared Kelenic and AJ Pollock. So, nothing to really see here. And then finally, get our utility and DH designation here. I mean, neither of these guys are probably going to DH, so these are mostly just utility guys. But Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty. This was kind of a point of contention on our on our Patreon show yesterday. Sam Haggerty versus Colin Moran. If you want to hear Colby and I debate and yell at each other a little bit, we did about Sam Haggerty and Colin Moran.
I would like to point out that while I yelled at Ty, I still respect him and his baseball acumen.
Thank you.
This is what you asked for.
I can't say the same about you, though. So
see,
that's why I yelled at you.
This is what you asked for. Yeah, because Sam Haggerty shouldn't have a guaranteed spot on this roster. He's not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Sam Haggerty certainly isn't. So
I value his value on the base pass and defensively more than I value Colin Moran's bat. And if you want to hear more of my reasoning for that, you can go subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/control the zone.
Spoiler alert, it's mostly dumb, but Ty is smart. Therefore, we must assume that it is smart because Ty said it.
I gotta say that this makes the show more boring with you just complimenting me. See,
yeah,
so it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted.
I didn't want this. I didn't want this. Channel name wanted this.
Yeah, well, Ty's fine with it. Is the point? So that's all I care about.
Yes.
No,
I mean, as you know, I love to be liked. I have to be liked.
He needs to be liked.
It's everything to me. So this is
a bit of a
great.
sickness, really.
This is great for me. Yeah.
No, I like Moran. I think Moran is being overlooked. He's been a pretty good hitter the last few years. And I know league average isn't very good. Well, it's major league average. So yeah, that's pretty good. But B, we're talking about him competing with Tommy La Stella, who hasn't been major league average for the last 2 years. And we're talking about Sam Haggerty, who can't hit right-handed pitching. So thankfully only like 65% of the starters in baseball are right-handed. So that won't become an issue anytime soon. But
the Seattle Mariners were one of the slowest teams in baseball last year. I'm just going to mention that. I'm just going to say that.
Why do you think they care about speed then? If they were slow last year,
well, they need to get fast.
What did they
need to be at least competent.
What base stealing threats did they add?
I don't need them to just steal bases. I'm not talking about this just from the perspective
Colin
of
Moran's not a
bases.
bad athlete.
I'm just saying, I just need someone to run the bases well.
So why don't you just
runs the bases well?
Okay, fine. Then you know what? Just go get Terrence Gore because he'll give you the same at the plate against right-handed pitching.
Oh, whatever. Okay.
Terrence Gore's out there somewhere, right? He always is.
No. Late September, sure. The Mariners are going to sign Terrence Gore.
What's Billy Hamilton doing?
Yeah. Oh, man, that makes me sad. I wish that Billy Hamilton was a part of that club last year, at least for a day. I just wanted to see Billy Hamilton in a Mariners uniform.
Speed kills. If only Haggerty had any. No, I do think Sam's probably going to make this team. The good news is that he's healthy. He's already playing in Cactus League games. That was, he's gotten a couple starts. I think both at second base. So, which is kind of interesting because last year the Mariners had no interest.
They avoided him playing in the infield like the plague.
Yeah, they had absolutely no interest in seeing that. But by the way, Bryce Miller now out.
Nice.
Sounds about right. So yeah. Haggerty already playing. That's great. It bodes well for his health. He's probably going to be on the opening day roster. Probably shouldn't be, but he's probably going to be. So whatever. Ham Swaggerty. We'll see him strike out against velocity up, and some dumb manager will turn him around with some slider spinning lefty, and he'll hit a double into the gap, and everybody will he's the best ever.
You're such a hater. You're such a hater. Why can't you just be like, yeah, Sam Haggerty, he does have some flaws, but I like him. He's cool. He wears the headband, and he's called Swaggerty. He's fun.
I guess I
he's
could
a
lie.
Fun baseball player.
No, Haggerty is he is a fun baseball player. And obviously Ham Swaggerty will live forever and all of that stuff. But I don't know, man. I'd rather have the bat, particularly because I don't trust Tommy La Stella, really.
Well, again, if La Stella doesn't pan out this spring, if he can't get healthy, or they don't want him around, I mean, you might get the bat and you might get Swaggerty as well. You might get both. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's possible. And the other thing is I don't know what Moran's minor league deal is. I don't know if there's a opt-out date attached to that, if he's willing to accept an assignment to AAA. But if he's not, I would be concerned about losing that type of player, whereas Haggerty has options.
Right.
So I can kind of put Haggerty in AAA for a month, right, and then watch La Stella hit and watch Moran hit and kind of extend that decision just because, I bench bat and honestly could be your DH, which isn't ideal, but
Yeah.
It's the situation you're in. So I just don't want to give that up for nothing. And if he's not willing to go to the minors and he doesn't have like a reasonable May 1st opt-out date or something like that, then I would probably put him on the roster and just kind of roll with him and LaStella and see which one, more or less wins the job.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, Haggerty does have not just one, but 2 minor league options remaining. So one for this year, one for next year, theoretically. Yeah. But yeah, but again, we're doing these projections based off of what we think is going to happen, not what we think should happen. And I can't imagine that the Mariners are going to break camp without Sam Haggerty on their roster on opening day, but we'll see. All right. So, those are our projections. We'll throw them up here again. Let us know what you guys think. What were we right about? What are we wrong about? Let us know down below. And like I said, we'll probably do another projection maybe around mid-month, maybe once Colby gets back from Peoria, something like that. We'll let you guys know, and we'll have a clear idea of what things are kind of looking like and how things are going to hammer out, because we'll be when does the World Baseball Classic end? Do you know?
The 19th or 20th.
Yeah, so we'll be close to the end of the World Baseball Classic, and so most of the guys should be returned to Mariners camp at that point. And so, that will be, because when, guys like Julio and Teoscar, et cetera, go off to the World Baseball Classic, that's the prime window for some of these guys to stake their claim for the roster. And so, we'll see. But yeah, right now, like I said, the roster is pretty much chalk across the board. It doesn't seem like we got a lot of position battles that we're going to be watching, which makes for a pretty boring spring training. Not a lot of storylines really going on. It's mostly just trying to see how guys are performing, making sure that guys are staying healthy, staying in shape, all that good stuff. And that's about it. But hey, maybe someone will surprise us here over the next couple weeks. Anyway, that is going to do it for our show today. Thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On Mariners. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident Gonzales. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzales. That's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.